Awesome. Yay.
Alrighty. Just get right in then. And just to confirm, right, you guys are both like in this high silver, low gold range, or I see some bronze and low silvers in there.
Not
in
going
different
so good
roles.
right now, yeah.
I died in the past couple months a bit. But
Alrighty.
I feel I belong into high silver, but at the moment I'm only in heals and high silver, and the rest is bronze.
All right, so in some we've had peaks in gold right now, high silver in some areas, and then bronze in some other roles.
Yes.
Alrighty.
Yeah. And one thing is that we
Mhm.
tended to play a bunch with somebody who was plat, but he was a Debo one trick.
Uh-huh.
And so it was like I don't know. The games varied a lot, so
Yeah.
we were playing with a big range of different skill levels as well.
All right.
Not in these games though.
All right. So first thing we're looking at here is kind of the time that we're engaging at. So we're engaging kind of ahead of our team. So
Oh,
where do
I don't think we
we don't see anything.
oh, you're not
Yeah.
seeing anything? Oh, I thought I started the stream. I don't know why it stopped.
Oh.
All right.
Yes.
I'm streaming now on Discord if you both want to take a look. I thought I pressed stream. Maybe I didn't. All right. So now taking a look at this. Okay,
Yep.
I just rewind it a little bit. Right, we're coming into this fight. If you look at where our team's at comparison to us, right, they're all back there. The first thing that's happening is we're engaging kind of with kind of unsynced with our team, and when we do this, that means that all six of them get to look at us and shoot at us, right? And that puts a ton of pressure on us. Six people shooting at us, kind of us 1v6ing, is never going to be a good idea because we're just going to end up getting shredded very, very fast. So when we come in
Yes.
here, they all look at us, we see them all turn at us, right? We have 3 people shooting at us, 4 people, in a second they'll be like their entire team's now looking at us. So first thing right off the bat is we're kind of engaging without our team. So we might want to give it another second. We can poke from the side for a little bit, but we don't want to be engaging right away. So I'm just gonna be analyzing a bit more. I might not talk right away here.
Yeah.
All right, so we're just gonna go over kind of Tracer's play style real quick. So on Tracer, you are an opportunist. So Tracer's play style is essentially you poke and you poke and you poke and you poke. So you kind of shoot them from a little bit of a range, not too far away, but you kind of poke them from a little bit of a distance from their side or from behind them. And then when you see, because this is where the opportunist part comes in, we see something that's low HP. If you see someone who's out of position, if you make someone low HP yourself by poking at them, if you get pulse bomb, then we can get a little bit more aggressive and we can engage in. Here we're kind of immediately blinking into their entire team. We're probably not going to want to do that a lot of the time. If we take a look at Tracer's kind of range with her gun, typically we're going to want to stay around like 10 meters or so. We don't want to be getting right up inside people's faces, especially when they're not low. But on Tracer, we have a 13 meters before her damage fall off starts, so we can be shooting effectively from like right around here. So we want to be sticking around this range. We can poke at people and just shoot them, and then we engage more aggressively when they're low. There we kind of just immediately went like right up in their face right here when there wasn't any opportunity and we didn't do any poking, and then that meant that we're immediately forced to just get out, right? So essentially our playstyle right now is kind of like 0 to 100 really, really fast, and we should be playing a little bit more passive and then getting just a little bit more aggressive. We don't want that 0 to 100. Second thing I'm looking at there when we're engaging is the fact that we went in on the Zarya. So that's where we get into target priority. So the target priority is basically like, what should we be shooting at and when. Typically tanks are not going to be the thing that we want to put too much of our attention into. Tanks have 2 times, 3 times the HP of supports and DPS. Supports and DPS have more statistical output, right? DPS do the damage, supports do the healing. Tanks are there to prop up and support the supports and DPS. They create space for them. So tanks aren't going to be the ones that we want to focus. When we have equal opportunity, as in we can get to anybody that we want to get to, we don't want to focus tanks. We want to focus the easier to kill targets. So here, for example, we go on the easiest thing that we can kill, which would be the Ashe or the Mercy, right? Moira has
Yeah.
Fade. Moira has her self healing. Reaper has extra health. Reaper has Fade. Reinhardt has 3 times the health of everyone else and a shield. Zarya has a bubble and 2 times the health of everyone else, right? So we want to pick out what is the thing that we should be focusing, and most of the time that's going to be supports and DPS, not tanks. Now, there are some times where we do focus tanks when tanks are low HP, when they're out of position, right? Overextended, super far forwards, when they're the only thing that we can shoot at. But especially on a character like Tracer, um, we're going to be able to get past tanks a lot of the time because of our mobility, right? We can just kind of blink past tanks very easily. We don't really have to focus them too much. So here, we're just kind of on the wrong target when we go back in.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just kind of blink right up in their face. Instead, we kind of want to poke from a distance. We go in the Zarya to start off here.
I could use some healing. Haven't had enough. The objective is mine.
Do you have a higher sensitivity? Or like, what was your sensitivity and DPI at?
I don't know by heart. The sensitivity is not very high. It's like 1 point something. I have to look it up.
1 point something, and then DPI. I would okay. Well, it wouldn't, unless your DPI is super high, then that should be very low.
My sensitivity is 2.3.
2.3. Do you know how to do you know what your DPI is at all?
Yes. 1 second. It's 2400.
2400. Okay, so that is very high. So 2400 times what did you say that was your
2.35.
2.35? Okay. Is 5.6. Okay, so that's not too terrible of a EDPI. Do you have a larger mouse pad or a smaller one?
Large.
Large. Okay, so it just seems with our aim that we're very shaky with it, and it's not very smooth when we're aiming. So I guess mechanics does seem like that is something we might want to make sure we're trying to improve on. When it comes to improving mechanics, there's a bunch of different things. I would imagine in a moment here we're going to go and talk about crosshair placement, which is going to be a big thing for aim. But you can also practice aiming by with some custom game modes. You can try aim trainers.
I tried to do that, yeah. It's just, or I think that's the part where I feel my inexperience in FPS the most, because I just aim bad.
Yeah.
But would you recommend to put the sensitivity down a bit?
Yeah, so let's see, what was your sensitivity? Was like your EDPI was like 5K or something like that. Mine, I'm at I can't remember what my I can actually check this real quick. What's my sensitivity right now? 4.5 times 800. So yeah, your sensitivity is much higher than mine. I probably would recommend lowering that a little bit, as you want it a little bit lower for some smoother tracking. As right now it looks very shaky, like it's hard to keep across there on top of people. So yeah, I'd probably recommend that. You can also, here, I'll link you a guide real quick on practicing your aim. Now, when it comes to practicing and you don't have much time, like if you're only playing for an hour in a day, you don't want to put too much time into aim trainers. But what you can do is just practice a little bit while you're warming up, for example, right when you're just in queue for some games. That's where you can look to just practice your aim or warm up for the day. And then besides that, just playing consistently. And we'll go over crosshair placement at some point here. I would imagine. Let me just get that video for you real quick. Alrighty. So yeah, let's just continue here, but just note that so far it's looking like aim is going to be something we're going to have to talk about and work on. Okay. Again, right, it's super easy for Moira and Mercy to pocket a Zarya, but it's a lot harder for them to pocket each other as they can't. Mercy can't. If you're shooting at her, she can't self heal. Moira can't self heal nearly as easily as two of them can heal somebody else, right? So she's just probably the wrong target to be looking at. Also, the angle that we're coming at here is kind of a frontal angle, right? We're coming at them from the front here, which means that all of them get to look at us, all of them see us. So when we're coming in, we want to come in at side angles. So when we come in from the left or the right, this is a few different things for us, right? The first thing is now we create a crossfire effect with our team. So if we're right here, right, let's say 2 or 3 of them decide to look at us. Now, when 2 or 3 decide to look at us, that means that now that's less people that are looking at our team, and our team is less pressure. But then also means that we have less pressure on us, right? If we look at us right now, how many people we have? Their entire team is looking at us, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Are about to be looking at us here after the more fades. So from our position, everybody's looking in one single direction, this direction. When we come over here, we create a crossfire effect to where they have to split their attention. And when they split their attention, that's better for us and our team because we have less people looking at us and our team. So this also allows us to get past shields, to get past tanks, and to get immediately in on the supports and the DPS. Coming from this frontal angle means that really the only thing that we can shoot at are the DPS and tanks. So we want to make sure that when we're playing, we're positioning ourselves along these side angles on the left and on the right, and we can even get behind them sometimes. And not often are we going to, on Tracer, we going to want to be staying here in the front line with our, like right next to our Orisa.
Yeah, makes sense.
I could use some healing. Group up here.
Yeah, when we're low HP, make sure we're paying attention to our health. We can grab health packs. On Tracer, you can survive a lot off health packs. So you have a bunch of experience in the game, so I'd hope by now you have a good grasp on where health packs are. It's a good idea to be aware of where they are, so we can get to them easily. So make sure you're paying attention to your health bar. Grab health packs, request healing so you can get healed by your team, and then don't push forward when you're only at 36 HP because that will result in you dying. Okay, so now we're looking for a pulse bomb.
It's a terrible one.
Okay, so right here, this is a habit, and I apologize that there might not be much good. I like to always mix in some you're doing good in these areas when I'm coaching, but just keep in mind there's gonna be a lot of bad and negative stuff here since you guys are on the lower end. So there's a lot more mistakes going on here, but this is just this is another one that this one is not most certainly not gonna level you up a rank, but it is gonna make you a little bit more. It's just a habit that you want to think about and work on breaking. By no means is this gonna be number one on your list of priorities to fix, but look at your jumping here. You're holding down our jump button. When you're holding down jump button, going jump, 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 jump. Jump spamming is not going to be good for you for a couple of different reasons. The main one being that it becomes, especially at higher ranks, which we're not at higher ranks yet, but you always want to play as if you are, because if we aren't, then we're never going to get there. At higher ranks, this becomes very easy to headshot you out of and shoot you. When we go up, we have to come down, so that becomes very predictable. So jumping isn't a habit that you want to be in. And then the second thing this does is it means that we're very loud, as jumping is very loud. And when we're on a sneaky, quiet, trying to flank them, we might want to be crouching more than jumping, because jumping's actually going to alert them to our position. Jumping will give us less control over our mobility, and it'll mean that when we jump around the corner, we can't stop ourselves. So it's just a few different things we just want to that give it negative effects, but it's not going to be a major issue here. Alrighty, with your with your pulse, try not to flick it, right? be same thing as your aim, right? It seems like our aim is like super shaky. Be smooth with it. Don't try to flick it, you know, because then that ends up happening where you're looking this way, and then all of a sudden you go like this, boom, and then now it's behind us, right? Don't try to flick it. Stay straight on the person, right? And I think the range that we're going at here. Let's see. Is this? I think we're good because we got right up next to her,
Bombs away.
right? We just ended up
I
flicking
thought
it
the
with your.
Mercy was moving towards the right, I think.
Mm.
Deja vu.
But yeah.
Okay.
Somehow I'm singling out this Zarya again and
Yeah.
again.
Okay, so now we're gonna go over two more things. So we're gonna go over crosshair placement, and then we're gonna go over positioning. And I can't. What characters do you play, Salty?
Zen. I like Anna and
Alright.
Zarya.
So pay attention because
Hanzo.
with these characters that require headshots, the crosshair placement is going to be very helpful for you. And on top of that, positioning is going to apply to every character at any rank. So these might not be things that you specifically struggle with, but I would imagine that they probably will be. As no offense, but the rank that typically a lot of people at that rank struggle with it. So essentially, crosshair placement here is placing your crosshair in the best place possible so we can hit the easiest shots. Right? It's using your brain to help your aim. This is my first FPS 2 PC FPS. I played Minecraft before this, but and I played in silver when I started playing, and I played Mercy as well. So I essentially just kind of self-taught myself when it comes to aiming, and this is the way that you can teach yourself how to aim is by having good crosshair placement. So the first major step to crosshair placement is placing your crosshair at head level, right?
Yeah.
So what this does for us is it does two major things. First off, this means that we don't have to adjust up to head level, right? So headshots obviously do much more damage, right? We can go. Let's pick a character that. Actually, no, I think that's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right. It's pretty much twice the damage on a lot of different characters. You're just doing a lot more damage when we're hitting headshots versus hitting body shots. So we want to hit headshots because the faster we kill things, the more damage we're gonna get, the more kills we're gonna get. Gives them the faster we kill things, the less time they have to get away, to heal, to use tanking abilities, to use movement abilities, right? So we secure the kill faster. So when we're aiming here, that means that we have to adjust up and to the left or up and to the right, whereas if we're aiming head level already, we just have to go left and right, and when there's less distance that we have to travel with our crosshair, that means that we're more likely to be able to hit the shot because it's an easier shot to hit. So we want to make sure that we're walking around aiming at that head level. Now, the other thing it does, especially on spammier characters, so not necessarily Tracer's not super spammy, but especially like Zenyatta, Hanzo, like we were talking about with Salty. Whenever you're just spamming down the corridor, right, all these shots are now hitting headshots, right? So instead of looking down this corridor and all these being body shots, right, we just spam down this corridor, and now we're aiming head level, and now all these are just headshots while we're spamming down here. So now that means that we're just doing a whole lot more natural damage.
But if I may ask, like, so in the practice range, the bots have huge heads. But in game or in aim arena, I sometimes wonder, like, when I aim on the heads, I just don't hit the head, and then I don't hit anything at all. And if I hit the body, then it's not this multiplier, but it's easier to hit.
Even if you're hitting more shots, you're still doing even if you're missing more shots, you're still doing more damage because of the amount of damage that you're doing. And on top of that, you want to practice, if you heard a pro saying that, right? Like I'm gonna hit more shots if I hit a body shot, right? That's just not good line of thinking because you want to practice for, like we were talking about before. Sorry, let me try to figure out how to word this. You want to play as if you're playing at a higher rank, because if you don't play as if you're playing at a higher rank, you're never gonna get there. So if you guys don't play like your gold players, and if gold players hit headshots and you guys don't hit headshots, you'll never be able to hang it with gold, right?
Sure.
hitting headshots is just a standard of if you want to improve, you have to be able to do that because headshots just do so much more than body shots can do. So it's not a matter of yes, of course, body shots are easier to hit, but we're doing a lot less when we're hitting body shots. So we need to practice aiming headshots, and when you're practicing crosshair placement, you'll notice that it's just it'll become easier and more natural for you to do. And this even applies to just regular body shots too. We can practice crosshair placement for just making sure we're aiming at bodies in general and making sure we're aiming at the right spots, right? And we'll continue on this note, right? If we want to be aiming head level as well, around corners where we know people are going to be, right? So if the bot's going to be on the left side here, we're aiming at head level. Right away, a little bit away from the door, we know he's going to come back, so we're going to pretty much, or it's very little adjustment. We're not really even moving our mouse very much because we already know where they're going to be. Okay, we know they're going to be on our left, so we're aiming left side, aiming head level. Right, we come out, we're already aiming at their head. Right, we come out here, already aiming head level. Okay, we know they're a little bit slanted down here. We come out and we're pretty much already there. Right, so we're aiming at this level so that it just becomes easy shots because we're already aiming there. So that's how crosshair placement can let us hit easier shots. Right, and some characters even do have like tanks, and some characters will even have as big head hitboxes as these spots in the training range. Right. Now movement. So, or not movement, positioning. So essentially, positioning is good positioning is the usage of cover, whereas bad positioning is the absence of cover. And so if we're standing here and there's a bunch of enemies shooting at us, it takes us 1, 2, 3 seconds to get behind cover, and by that time we died, right? Even if we used blinks, we still took a ton of damage, and sometimes we're gonna be out of blinks, and you don't want to have to use blinks because that would just waste blinks. So now we're behind cover to where now we can't take damage. So if they start shooting at us, it takes us half a second, and boom, we're safe. Okay, so this is much better positioning because we have a way to negate damage and stop damage from coming in at us. Okay, and there's a lot of different ways that we can use cover. Right, we can use slopes, we can use pillars. Right, we can use pillars in between reloads when we're low HP, when we're just trying not to take damage. We can use corners in the same way. Right, objects. Right, we can use something like this. We can use the payload like this. Okay, pillars, corners, doorways. Corner. Right, high grounds act is really nice positioning. Right, they can see us. We back away from the ledge. Now they can't see us. See us? Can't see us. See us? Can't see us. We add in a crouch and we do the same thing, right? So we can back up and crouch. And we can, in 1 second we can be looking over here, and the next second we can be over here. So we have really good visibility. And on top of that, a lot of characters can't really get up to us when we're on high ground. So high ground is gonna be fantastic positioning for us. Right? So that's just essentially how basic positioning works, and we're gonna go back to the replay and I'll show you why that even came up to my mind and why we were talking about positioning.
Now traveling to Busan, ready for battle.
Alright, so we blink out here. Look how we re-engage here. Okay. Okay. Jumping in the sorry, there's new buttons here because they just changed the sorry, they just updated it. Yeah, they changed it, so there's new buttons that I keep accidentally pressing here. So be coming in here, walking straight to the middle, right? Not taking a side angle, standing out in the open. That means we're going to be taking a ton of extra spam damage and damage in general, and we don't have any cover to get behind, right? And we just stay out in this open, right? Out in the open, not next to any cover. Just means that we die very easily, and we're going to be taking a ton of extra damage, and we don't have any way to get away from the damage.
Yeah, I see.
So we always want to make sure we're going from one bit of cover to the next bit of cover to the next bit of cover, and only really going out in the open if it's absolutely necessary. Okay. A lot of tank shooting again. Alright, so now Reinhardt's 1, so that's good. So the initial us shooting at him initially is probably a bad idea, but then once he became 1 HP, now this is a much better idea. So us shooting at him right here is not the best because we're just focusing on a target that's not the best to shoot at when we could be going on something else. But now he's low, he's discorded, right? We have a damage boost. Now he becomes a much better target because now he's low. Okay, seems like we're wasting a lot of our blinks, and whenever we're blinking, we're running into stuff a lot of the time. So really focus on your blink usage so that first off, we're needing less blinks because we keep blinking in kind of wrong directions here. Like we come in here and we blink into a wall. Or here we accidentally blink past him too far.
Yeah.
Then we blink backwards into a wall. Right, so we wasted 2 blinks there. Right, just work on the blink management and usage and make sure we're putting more effort into how we're using it, as well as making sure we're not using them kind of all at once. Okay, whenever we die, it's a good, and this applies to Salty too. Whenever you die, it's a very good opportunity to learn from, right? The biggest way that you can stagnate and stay in the same rank for a silver border and 3 stars is by sorry, I saw Salty Owl in chat and I was like, wait, is that Salty? No, it's not. Okay. So the biggest way you can stagnate and stay at the same rank is by never looking for ways that you can self-improve yourself. When you die, that's a fantastic way that you can self-improve because you can go, why did I die? Okay, dying means that you get 0 value. Staying alive is fantastic value. So if we can look to cut out deaths, that's always going to be great value. Here, we die, and we still have 2 blinks left and 1 recall left. So now we know, okay, the reason why we died is we could have prevented that had we used abilities. So if we continue to see that, so we say that to ourselves out loud, even while we're in the middle of playing, we go, okay, could have used abilities there. If we keep playing and that seems to be a consistent thing that happens over and over and over again, well, now we figured out an issue that we need to work on.
Yes.
Okay, nice pulse. Nice blink melee. Good pulse bomb there as well. Okay, this has been something again that we've done multiple times. This is probably the 3rd time. Last time we died, this is something as well. Look at where our team's at. Look at where we're at. Right, same thing as we talked about this. In the first fight, we're engaging when our team's not engaging, and that means that they get to all look at us and shoot at us. So make sure that we're syncing up with our team. So we're shooting at them at the same time our team's shooting at them. So here, if we engage right now, we're probably going to end up dying. What we could do is maybe we can come up here and kind of poke at them from the high ground, and then we have an easy way to get out, because all we have to do is just run away this way, right? But here, this is very far on the open. There's not much cover over here, and where are we going to get out to, right? Anywhere that we get out requires that we use a ton of blinks, right? We have to use like double blink this way or triple blink this way, right? So where we're at right now is not good starting position, as well as the fact that it looks like we're going to try to engage before our team's ready. So look to sync up with your team and when they're ready.
Yeah.
Okay, look at kind of our crosshair placement in accordance to bodies, right? So we just look at this, how we're placing this, looking at the ground, coming out here, looking at Reinhardt's chest, okay, blinking around, looking at Reaper's feet.
Yeah, I see.
Okay, so now we got out. Now we're just poking, so this is good. Recall to get that health back. That when you don't have access to health packs or you don't have access to heals, and when we're down at 18 HP, we just want to recall to get that health back immediately, because then that doesn't happen. So it looks like ability management again is a big one that we need to work on, right? Just make sure we're using recall. Okay, same stuff yet again. Approaching from the frontal angle means that everyone can see us. We're standing out in the open. Instead, with our positioning, we want to be coming up top left high ground, top right high ground, left side underneath, right side underneath, right? We don't want to be coming straight up through the middle, running straight at the Reinhardt, and then on top of that, like our focus target is the Reinhardt, not the BAP, for example, right? So wrong focus targets again.
Let's try that again.
Okay, so now we're just stalling out points, so that's fine. And then we get out. Okay, good. I like the decision making there. We got out when we saw those lost.
Over here.
Maybe it was already lost when I tried to pulse.
Yeah, it's already lost when you tried the pulse, but it doesn't matter because they're about to win the round, so we have to fight anyways. Here, watch Baptiste's health bar because we do ignore him when he's 1 HP, so we could very easily hit that off right now if we're paying attention to him. Second thing is we kind of miss that pulse bomb, so I think pulse just needs a little bit more effort into it, just because a ratio of 2 misses to 1 hit isn't going to be the best, so make sure you're putting a little bit more effort into it. I like that we're blinking in and we're going for it. We're trying to get close into them, but try to get like right up and on top of them, right? You don't want to just get close to them. We want to be basically in their face when we're pulsing. That's why so essentially, like, I saw us do a blink melee. Where essentially when we're going for pulses, we're blink meleeing, but we're going for a pulse instead of the melee, right? We're getting right up inside of their face within melee distance, so that when we pulse, there's really nowhere else for it to go besides their body. Okay, again, having used recall, I haven't seen us use recall very much. Make sure we're using that ability, because that could have helped prevent 3 deaths by now, I think. So that's 3, and I think that's the end of the round. So 1, 2, and then the one before on the Reinhardt. So yeah, 3 different deaths we could have prevented had we used recall, right? Or at least extended our life. So make sure we're using recall, because that is going to keep you alive longer, going to give you health back. So whenever we see that we're down, like, so right there when we took damage, that's where we're recalling so we can get back all that health that we lost. Right, because we're just not using it, and then that means that we're dying. Alrighty, so been talking about you for a while, so it's time to move on to Salty. Just had to wait like 30 minutes for that. So, would you prefer to just go over that last round, or do you want to just go into this new round?
This new round should be fine.
Right.
This one is in Europe, so there might be some latency, but I'm sure I have other concerns before we have to worry about that.
All right. So are you not Europe?
Yeah, I'm in the US.
All right.
We switch back and forth.
All right. So how do you guys meet up if you're in different continents?
Stefan was doing his master thesis at MIT, and I'm in Boston.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have so many good headshots here. This isn't my best game, but that's why we're here. Also, my DPI is 9,000.
9,000? Oh, jeez.
My E DPI is 9,000. My DPI
yeah.
is
I
1,800.
probably, like, okay, so when it comes to sensitivity, typically when you're on mechanically demanding characters, you want a lower sensitivity. That is the popular consensus among professional players, is that, when you're on characters that require pixel perfect shots, it's typically better to be on a lower sensitivity, but to each their own, as there are professional players who do have very high sensitivities. One such name comes to mind is Pine. He is a DPS player who had a super high sensitivity, yet he played a hit scan. So it is doable, but I would probably say that most people recommend a lower sensitivity, so you might want to try out a lower sensitivity with a larger mouse pad, and that might help you be a little bit more precise with your shots.
The objective is now active.
Okay, first off, I'm looking at crosshair placement, right? How we're walking around holding our crosshair. Okay, especially since we're on a character that's very high, has a very high crosshair placement demand here. So when we're kind of good shots from the monkey, but when we're looking over this side, we want to make sure that we're looking at head level, right? Coming down here, look at where our crosshair's at, right? In comparison to other people, we're aiming at more his feet, right? Not her head. Okay, now we're more of a head level. And this it's gonna be harder and harder to control the higher sensitivity you have.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna try to keep an eye on our orbs, how we're using those.
For your safety, please move behind the barrier. Somebody get me some healing. I need healing.
Make sure you're reloading every opportunity that you get. So anytime you have a lull in time, you want to reload. That way you actually have ammo to work with when you're actually coming up against people to shoot. Right, so when we're not shooting at anything for a long period of time, here we want to be reloading so we don't just come into the next fight with 2 shots. Have you adjusted your orb sensitivities at all?
No.
No? So if you go to options, controls, all heroes, alright, and you scroll down to Zenyatta, who's at the very bottom, you have Orb of Harmony sensitivity and Orb of Discord sensitivity.
Oh, that's cool.
So what these do is when this is at 100, or let's start with 10. That's easier to explain. When it's at 10, that means pretty much you have to be looking directly on top of the person. Your crosshair has to be on their body for the orb to go to them. Otherwise, it will not go to them. When this is at 100, it's very flippity floppity, and it will go on anyone, even if you're looking at the person. So you want to probably pick something more towards in the middle. So when somebody's right next to somebody else, you can pick out who you want to Discord. I probably would recommend. Of course, I maybe a little bit more a little bit more mechanically sound. So you might want to go like 60, 70, whereas I have mine on 50. So here, when we're trying to land it on Ash, it just might become a little bit easier because it won't go to the wrong person, right? So let's see. So first off, we toss it on Monkey when look at where our crosshair's at, right? So that would definitely fix it there. Second off, here we're tossing it when we're kind of mostly aiming at Ash, so that probably help in that situation. Okay.
Assistance would be appreciated. This will protect us. You are your own worst enemy. Reach out. Embrace Get in the immortality field.
You need to
I'm
learn.
on fire. Really?
I don't really leave much.
Enemy contact.
Okay, it seems like we have a decent grasp of. I might take this back later, but for now, it's seeming like we have a decent grasp on when we should be right-clicking, when we should be left-clicking. Right-clicking being when we can't see somebody, and when we're coming kind of around corners, and when we're coming into fights and backing out of fights, that's when we're right-clicking, and then when we can actually see somebody, that's where we're left-clicking. So I'm noticing that we're good on that end. Let's see how we're using trance here. They don't. So, like, on their team comp, right, they have one thing that we should probably be holding it on to for, and that is grab. But we also have a BAP lamp for anything else, so we could probably get away with holding on to trans for grab here. probably say mechanics is seeming like a big major one that we need to work on, and lowering your sensitivity should help with that a little bit. But again, keep in mind crosshair placement. You can take a look at the video that I was showing for Akira as well. Is just you can practice it while you're in practice your mechanics while you're in queue. A good tip for both of you is just before you're hopping straight into competitive, warm up your aim by playing for a little bit, especially while you're just in queue, or you can even do one game beforehand. Just play quick play a play an arcade while you're or playing sorry not arcade like play a custom game while you're in queue. Go to make your own go into a custom game like Special Workshop where you can practice your aim or whatnot. You just want to kind of get your aim warmed up because your aim is going to be the fastest thing to get rusty out of you. Like, and it'll get rusty within a day, right? So we just have to constantly keep that warmed up.
Yeah.
Ready, so probably don't want to use it here because it's not, let's see, like right as we're using it. So I think it's because we see that we're being pressured here. So first thing I'm saying is look at our position in in kind of relation to cover. Even if we have shields, we still want to be using cover for multiple reasons. First off, shields can break. Shield can be Orisa's shield can't, but shields can be put down. So like Sigma and Reinhardt can put their shields down. There are a ton of abilities that go through shields, such as Moira Coalescence, Winston's shooting. There's a bunch of characters that can shoot around shields, and if we're not near good positioning, that's going to become an issue. So here we're just kind of out in the open, even if we're using shields. So something better would be positioning over and using this as cover, positioning closer to this left wall, right? Besides that, I think what kind of happens here? I'm gonna take a look at it. So a bunch of ults happen. We take a bunch of damage, mainly to, is it Coalescence that we take damage from, or is it a Fire Rocket? So yeah, so you take damage to Coalescence, right? Because again, we're standing out in the open, even if we have a shield. That forces us to use Trance. So better positioning here would, and then we also see the BAP is 1. Okay, so that's why we Trance here. In the future, better positioning would probably be better here. If we're forced to use Trance, then we just have to make sure we would just have to use something else for the. We'd have to use like Lamp, for example, for the grab. So that Trance isn't terrible, but we just probably could have held on to it a little bit longer. When you're ending Trance, you want to end Trance in a better position. You don't want to just sit out in the open still. So when at the very, we can sit around because we're invincible. We can go around point here and dance around, and then when we're ending it, we back off into a better position. Probably be right where Ash is, and back a little bit, not out in the open on point. So our positioning here, I would imagine, gets us killed in a second. Yep. So better positioning is gonna be a big one on Zenyatta.
Yep.
Looks like we have solid left click usage, and then I think I've seen pretty decent orb usage. I'm gonna keep an eye on orbs still. Unfortunate Echo. Oh, she's back. Okay, same thing with you as we're talking about with Akira with target priority. Now your target priority is going to be slightly different because you're going to be a lot more defensive. He is of course going to be on the offensive a lot more because he's a DPS and he's actively searching out kills. So whenever you hear we have equal opportunity, whether you have the opportunity to shoot a support or a DPS or a tank, you're going to prioritize the supports and DPS over the tanks. But if a tank's on top of us, which is going to happen very often, right? Monkey's going to be on top of us very often here. We want to make sure that we're focusing him because that is a little bit different than a support than a DPS because he can run away from a monkey. The monkey's not really going to be chasing a tracer around, right? But they're going to be chasing you around. So here it's more like when we have equal opportunity and we're just kind of dancing around point here. This is where we should maybe not just be focusing monkey, and we should be looking maybe at something else. Okay, I'd like you both to focus on just staying alive more often, as when you stay alive more often, you do more. So let's say, for example, just out a random number, let's say we have on average 10 deaths per game, right? Each death is 10 seconds of spawn time, of respawning time, 10 seconds of walking back time, and often when we die, that also means that we're putting our team at a disadvantage and they're more likely to lose the fight. So let's say that we cut out 3 of those deaths. Now, that's 20 seconds per death, so that's roughly 60 whole more seconds that we're participating in the middle of fights, and we're winning those fights because our team's now not at a disadvantage because we're dead, right? So here,
Mhm.
you know, in these games, we're dying very often because of poor positioning, especially. Um, and kind of we're getting a little too aggressive when we probably shouldn't be. And if we can look to cut out those deaths, and like even let's go like one step further. Let's say we go down to 3 deaths per game. Right now we've cut out a whole. Oh, sorry, no, sorry. Let's say 4. Sorry. Now we've cut out a whole 6 deaths, and that's a whole 2 minutes of gameplay. Right. That's an insane number concept to think about. Is that with just a couple deaths, we're getting an extra minutes of time that we're playing in the game and participating. So we're gonna get more healing done, more damage out, more ultimates out, right? We're gonna get more kills, more damage, more team fight wins. So that starts here with positioning and making sure that when we're standing here, that we're not standing out in the open, that we're not running into their tanks, right? Here we kind of get a little too aggressive. We can do our damage from a distance. They can't, right? Zarya and Monkey are a little bit closer ranged than, so we probably don't want to be right up
Yeah.
on point here, right? And standing on the open.
The outcome is not preordained.
Helden sterben nicht.
There is chaos within you.
Do you play? What characters do you play again, Salty? You play a bunch. You said.
Yeah. So I mean, for DPS, I play Mei and Hanzo. For heals, I play almost everybody except for Moira, and um, I play Roadhog and Zarya and Reinhardt and Orisa and tanks.
All right. So just I probably give some recommendations. So first off, when we're playing this composition, Zenyatta probably isn't going to be the pick that we want to play with.
Yeah.
First off, because of the fact that we're running Lucio. So when we're on Lucio, I don't know if we've had Lucio the whole game, but right now we're running Lucio. When we see that we're running Lucio, this means that first off, we have very, very low healing output. So our team isn't going to get much healing from us, which isn't going to be very good. So we're probably going to want to combo that with a different character. Second off, Zenyatta's just going to be a little bit poor against a dive comp, and they're on mostly a dive comp, so we're going to struggle a little bit up against that. So here you might be better off on Brig. Ana would be good, especially for the more healing. Brig, probably say Ana would be a really good pick here. So those two would be my, I guess, recommendations with this composition. When you see that we're on a dive and then the enemy team's on a dive, that means that Zenyatta here isn't going to be the best because he's just going to be very easily killable. And it's also going to be harder for us to get just spam shooting value, right?
Yeah.
I require aid.
Okay. Look at what direction your team is going, right? Pay attention to your surroundings. This applies to Akira too, right? Make sure you're not tunnel visioning on you. You have to think about what's happening around you. Okay, that's called awareness. Pay attention to where are my teammates. Okay, we have our whole team going right side. When we're up against a dive, we want to make sure that we're sticking with them much more often because when we go off on our own, we can't heal them and they can't help us survive the dives. Okay, so here we kind of run in on our own, and that means that they're very easily able to kill us. So again, our positioning is what gets us killed here. We're going in without our team, in a different direction than our team, and we're going in too early, out in the open, right? A lot of different things go into that death. And then that means that now they don't have you for damage, they don't have you for orbs, you don't have trance in that fight.
Yeah.
I think that's a fine move to go with the trance there, to get back to point faster. that means that you have the higher movement speed as well as healing up the critical monkey on point. So I like that move there. Oh, my name is skip. Alright. So as a recap, I think that we do so far. I think we've done okay with the trances. I like to see more of trance usage. Left click and right click usage seems alright, of at least when we're using them, though we do struggle a lot with our mechanics. And then orb usage, I think, has been pretty alright as well. We do seem we're constantly having an orb on things. We're not holding on to them. I'd probably recommend with your orb to so that you can concentrate a lot more on your DPSing, as a lot of the time Zenyatta is a kind of a DPS in the disguise of a support. He's not really a support very much. He's more of a DPS character. Leave your orb on kind of the tanks a lot more often. That'll get you more more healing and more ult charge, as well as it'll mean that you won't really have to swap it around too much, and they're going to be taking most of the damage. You only really want to swap it if you see somebody, if you're outside of a fight, right? The fight's not going on, or if you see somebody that's a lower critical, right? Besides that, just leave it on ball or monkey. Probably I'd say ball would be a little bit better because he's gonna be harder to heal than a monkey is. And then besides that, I think you're doing good with the discords. We're just discording someone whenever we're seeing them, which is pretty much what you want to be doing, just whatever we're shooting at. But main things need work on are our target priority, our mechanics, our positioning is a big one, and then crosshair placement, right, goes in with mechanics. Or yeah, and then want to see ult usage more. Right, so why don't we swap back to Akira?
Maybe we can stay with ulting because the last round here was really terrible.
I got Ryan charged.
I mean, we can look at it, but I wasn't. Yeah, I'm curious about your comment, but somehow I felt the game up to here was kind of balanced, or both teams had good and bad moments, and here all of a sudden it all falls apart, and we're getting
all right.
wrecked.
Well, if you feel like you did that in this, we can go back to the previous round and go over that one, because we don't.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, maybe we watch the last round again.
All right.
Score 0. 5, 4.
Okay, so I would imagine we're gonna be doing our approach wrong here and just coming up through main rather than, probably best way would be to be going left. Okay, so it looks like we're going down main. That just means taking more spam, coming from a different angle. Okay, so I like that we're coming in from the left side here. This is good. Again, we kind of love to go for that Zarya first off. Right, first person we're on is the person who has 400 health, a bubble, is going to be healed by both their supports, right, in comparison to some other characters that just have a lot less survivability. Make sure we're not we just get a little too aggressive here. This is fine. If we're poking from this right here, that's great. Just poke. Then if you see something low, then that's when you go aggressive. Here we just kind of go all in and we use every single ability and we get right out in the open inside of them. You can just see how aggressive we get here as we just go straight in right on top of them. Here, when we see that we take some damage, this is probably where we should recall to get all that health back up, right? That's going to be a big one, is just make sure you're using your recall to get your health back up. Okay, so it looks like we're hitting a decent amount of shots here. Just a lot of standing on the open. Just means that we're taking a lot of unnecessary damage. Make sure that you're just taking some time to recharge your abilities. Don't, when you're, we get out of this fight and now we're at 0, nothing, okay? No blinks, no recall. Give it a moment, request healing, and essentially here, just right now we don't need any blink to go aggressive. We can shoot from here. We probably kill them more very easily. We don't need to blink in here. Because we're not very far away from them, right? We just kind of walk up here. That way we're not wasting everything. We just kind of are using our blinks a lot, and we're not being very we're not conserving them or holding on to them at all, and then we're not ever recharging, and that means that now we're out of blinks again. And I like the angle that we're taking here a lot better than the first round. We're taking more of a side angle.
Just in time. For your safety, please move behind the barrier.
You're fully healed.
Gonna die.
Alrighty. Dying again. Blink, 2 blinks, 1 recall, health pack right there, right? We have a lot of survivability on Tracer. We just need to make sure we're using it. In no way is this I'd probably say this isn't really a bad engagement. I think this is fine if we want to just come up here and poke for a little bit and then back out. That's fine. We just need to be ready to use our abilities, because here we just don't use any of them and then we just end up getting shredded.
Like, in general, what do you think how, like, the use of just harassing them or poking from behind? Because I'm always a bit torn between like committing fully and trying to go for a kill and risking my own death, or just poking and getting the attention from them.
Yeah, well, like I said before, your playstyle is a little bit of a mix of both. You're looking for opportunities to get aggressive, but until then, you're playing just poking. So you just poking is charging your ult up. You're hopefully creating some opportunities to get aggressive, because your poking can hopefully get some of their supports or DPS low HP, right? And then that's where you can get aggressive. And then on top of that, you're also, like you said, you're being a distraction or drawing their attention away. So that's completely fine to poke, especially when you're looking for an opportunity. Then when you find the opportunity, that's where you get aggressive. Good recall usage. Just don't go in immediately, right? Because now we're going in with 1 single blink. Get right up next to them. Don't try to chuck it. Oh, we still get 2 kills, but you know they kind of walked into that one. Try to get up right next to them, and that'll kind of have more of an accuracy, right? And it's gonna mean that when you're actually sticking them, you're more likely to get the kill than if you're just tossing it on the ground. Right. So it's always good to practice sticking. So that's one of those situations where, like, we still did it, but maybe could have been done slightly better.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, good kills though.
Thanks, love. Hello, supercharger is ready to explode.
Enemy contact.
Let's try that again.
Yeah, it just seems like when we go in all in. Just play a little bit more passive and wait for some damage to come in before we're going all in with all of our abilities. Okay. I like again that we're going on this off angle here. That's really good. Mechanics are just a little bit shaky again. Okay, all these, just a lot of get forward there. A lot of missed shots, and we're just kind of going all around him. So lower sensitivity can maybe help with that. As well as just practicing at it. Really, when it comes to like any of this, I'll go over this real quick. When it comes to anything that I'm talking about here, and I think this applies to Salty too. The biggest thing about not applying this kind of stuff, and I said the biggest thing last time too, but one of the other biggest things for making sure you're improving and not just stagnating is making sure that you're not autopiloting while you're playing, and you're not just playing, just to play, right? When you're playing, you need to be focusing on certain things to improve on. So while we're playing, we can focus primarily on, for example, mechanics. We can pick mechanics and go, okay, we want to make sure that we're putting most of our brain power into making sure we're landing shots. Then once that we've done that for a while, and maybe mechanics are a little bit stronger because we're concentrating on them. Now that becomes a habit, and where our mechanics are just a little bit better in general. Then we can move on to something else, right? So when you're coming away from the session, I'll give you some main points to focus on. Don't try to focus on all 30 things that we've talked about all at the same time, because you're going to get overwhelmed. You're not going to know what to do. Pick the most important things and start there. 1 to 3 things. Don't try to focus on everything all at once. Then once you start focusing on those things, you'll get better at them and they'll become habits. Then you won't need to focus on them as much, right? So really just focusing on them one at a time. Though we're struggling with mechanics, best way we can get better with mechanics is making sure we're focusing primarily on our mechanics. Okay, dying again, 2 blinks, 1 recall, kind of standing out in the open on point here. A good kill on Baptisto. I liked that flank angle. We're on this round we're doing a lot more. We have a lot better, I guess, tracer positioning, but we're also not using cover as much as we should be. But I like that we are taking more off angles here, where we're going on the sides of them, and here we're focusing on the right target rather than trying to approach from the front line and going on the Zarya. But here we're just right there. Now that was a little too far in the open. We didn't use our abilities. We didn't use recall, right? And that just meant that we died.
Yeah.
So again, survivability makes sure you're staying alive longer. Means you'll be able to do more. Just wondering, because we are an hour in. Are you guys wanting to do that other hour as well?
I would be up for it. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Alrighty.
Yes, really useful.
Focus my target.
Okay, good recall usage there. Gotta work on the just pulses so they're getting more consistent. There I think what did we do? We overestimated our distance. So there we kind of blinked in, but she just kept moving to the right side, so we blinked, kind of walked past her. I think we just need to focus more on this. We maybe misestimated where our blink would take us, and then we end up missing that again. So you can practice that in the training range of practicing your blink pulses. And then pulse bombs just in general need a little bit more work of making sure we're consistent on that end. Okay, recall's available again. Though that was probably... Here, what do we have alive? Yeah, just recall again there. But by that point, the fight had been lost, so we might have just been trying to let them kill us. So that's all very fine option if that was our plan. Okay, approaching down straight through the middle, out in the open, died with 3 abilities and 1 recall, right? So again, just positioning, approach, and abilities is what's ended up killing us.
It's always the same.
Yep, and then that's why you get the coach, right? And then once you identify these things, that's where we can really try to focus in on making sure that we're focusing on these things, trying to improve on these specific areas, and then if
makes complete sense. Yeah.
Yep. And then when these are like, if this is like the big, I'll probably say this is like the biggest thing I'm seeing now is that we're just dying over and over again, approaching wrong. I'd probably say those are like the one of the biggest areas in your gameplay. When we fix those biggest areas, that's where you start to see major improvement because we're fixing one of the most major issues that we have.
Mm.
Alrighty, so
Score.
now,
Ready.
okay, so we're going back to Salty. We
Yeah,
didn't do
this
this.
one.
Yeah, we didn't do this round yet. Did you want to skip this round completely, or do you want to go over this one? Because you said it was a really bad round, or just
For me, it
or
was.
just
I'm
just
not sure
bad
what
for
you said.
Kira. All right.
For me, this one was also not so great. But I mean, it wasn't a good performance, I suppose. I don't know what
Yeah.
makes a good video. Is it
So
good performance?
you don't want bad performance, because when it's bad performance, you're like, oh yeah, of course I know I did bad. And when you do bad, you make more mistakes that you don't usually make. So I kind of
Yeah.
want your usual gameplay, not your worst gameplay.
Okay. In that case, can we do a Zarya one?
Well, yep, sure.
Um,
Is that in one of the other ones?
I think
That's
so.
the second one. Yeah. In the second one, you played Zarya.
Okay, sweet. Which one?
So Salty, what you play? Do you play all 3 roles?
Yeah.
lot?
So I was with I don't know if you know the Overwatch Pretenders. I was with single mothers in your area. It's like an amateur league for a short amount of time. And so I was an off tank and a support. And I swapped between those and sometimes main tank. But I tend to kind of flip between all 3 roles. So I know that's not the best way to do it, but
yeah, that would just be what I was gonna say. It's like, of course, it's always down to what your goals or priorities are. If you're playing the game to have fun, then does not matter at all. What you're playing. But if you're looking to really focus in on getting better and improving, you're gonna be doing that the fastest if you're trying to focus in on one particular role, as that'll mean that you have more time dedicated to it, and you can focus in on a particular skill set, and then
yeah.
you'll find as well that that'll just improve you actually, by playing one role, you'll get better at other roles as well, because you get better at general game sense and mechanics, and then that will apply to other characters as well. So you kind of,
Gotcha.
when you
Yeah.
rank up in one thing, you rank up in all areas. That doesn't apply for everyone, but that's how it worked for me, and hopefully it can work for you too. But yeah, that'd just be my recommendation if that's what your goals are.
Okay. Cool.
What replay did you say again?
It's the second one. J8J GT5. GT5.
Traveling to Route 6. Ready for battle. Attackers incoming in 30 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Stop the payload.
Barriers on you. Go.
Enemies detected.
And decent bubble usage so far. Make sure that we're just throwing in spam damage, right? So just constantly tossing right clicks. Even while we're looking for bubbles, we just constantly want to be outputting damage. And that gets our ult charge up, gets damage in. Seems like we need to get a grasp on our shooting range when it comes to left click, as that's going to be very important on Zarya. So on Zarya, that is a 15-meter range, I believe, here. So we're coming out and looking at a range. Let's get over to the bot. 15 meters. Okay, so right around here. Okay, we shoot at them. You see when you shoot at somebody that you can hear it. You see their health bar go down, and right next to your crosshair, if you look, you'll see white marks coming out from it. Okay, when we step back outside of this range, you don't see the white marks anymore. They're not taking damage. You don't hear the sound. Right next to your crosshair. So if you look at the crosshair here, when we're hitting them, you see the white marks, right? So that's probably the major one that you can see. When we're doing damage, you see the white marks. When we're not doing damage, you don't see the white marks, right? You can hear it. You can see the health ticking down, right? When we're outside of that range, make sure we're right-clicking, because if we're not doing any, we're just hitting air if we're doing left-clicking. So if we go back to the game, you were left-clicking air for a little bit there.
Yeah. I think I did that a bit. I thought it was like a fall off, not necessarily like totally nothing.
Yep, totally cuts off. There's nothing after that 15 meters. Yep, she doesn't have any fall off damage, so she's not going to do less damage the further away she is.
Traveling to route ready for battle.
Barriers on you. Go.
Detected.
It's just a scratch. You'll be fine.
It looks like we have a very decent grasp on bubbles. You know, it might change because this is only the first 10 seconds of the game. This might change later on, but bubbles looking fine so far. Because we are already very high energy. Whenever we're high energy now, 100%, like once we get above like 70-80% energy, all of our bubbles are now focused primarily on tanking, right? We don't need any more energy, so we're focused on making sure that our bubbles are getting max kind of value of keeping people alive. So pay attention
Okay.
to how in danger people are. In this situation, Monkey's not in danger, even though he's low HP, right? Sometimes people won't be in danger, and this applies to you being as on a support too. People aren't always going to be in danger just because they're low. In the situation, Monkey's not in danger because he has a bubble in front of him. Not a single person on their team can shoot him because he has a bubble here. So in the situation, he's fine, and we don't need to bubble him. And this is actually isn't going to get us much energy either. Right? We're not getting tanking or energy from that because of the bubble there.
Yeah.
And then in that situation, bubble would have been necessary because we can bubble the charge, and then now we're saving his life. We're getting energy out of it. A lot of times you want to really be focusing, even when we're just looking for energy, we do our best to always look for tanking, because when you land tanking bubbles, you also get energy in turn. So Reinhardt charges, we save the person's life, we get energy. Hog hooks, we save their life, we get energy. Pretty much any ultimate in the game is happening, we save their life, we get energy, right? So we want to make sure we're using bubbles for tanking as well. Okay, yeah, that's going to be a major one of understanding our left click distance, because here we're just doing nothing for a very long period of time because we're left clicking air. So
Yeah.
from this distance, we want to be, and you can see it too, right? Look at the where that falls off. Right here, this is where we should just be tossing your right clicks, right click, right click, right click. Just spam those in there. Look for some damage. This is gonna, when you're doing more damage, you're just gonna get more ult charge here as well. Is we're just doing a whole lot of nothing for like this first. Like, I don't think we haven't really done any damage yet. Even though we're sitting at 90 energy, we just haven't done any damage at all.
Yeah, I'm literally trying to.
Yep.
Oops.
Alrighty. So why don't we go over this real quick for both of you? So pay attention, Akira. You might have a decent grasp on this, but just as a refresher, you know, if you do feel like this is something you struggle with, so how to read when you've won or lost fights. So essentially, reading whether or not you've won or lost fights is a concept. Is watching kill feed is the big major thing that goes into this. When you watch kill feed, you see whether or not you're up or down people, and that will impact whether or not you're winning or losing. When you are up 1 to 2 people, you got 1 to 2 kills, that means that you are at an advantage. You want to play more aggressive when you have an advantage so that you can look to push in and get kills. When you're up 2 to 3, that is where you've pretty much won the fight. You no longer want to use ultimates when you've won. You want to be playing super aggressive to go push in and kill the rest of the people to get what you call stagger kills. Now, this also goes the exact opposite way. When you're down 1 to 2 people, you are at a big disadvantage. You didn't lose the fight yet, but you're losing the fight, and you want to play more passive. And you might want to start thinking about getting out. You might want to start thinking about like what's going to happen if we lose any more people. Down 2 to 3 people, that's where you've lost the fight. You now want to be not using ultimates, and you want to look to get out if possible, or you want to look to die if you don't think you can get out. In this situation, we lose 3 people. This is a lost fight. Actually, we lose 4 people. I didn't even see the person before. 1, 2, 3, 4 people are dead. That means that we've lost this fight, and probably hopefully the best thing we can do here is look to get out with our energy. We are at 96 energy right now, especially on a character like Zarya. It's gonna be really, really handy if we can get out with that energy, because now we're not
Yeah.
coming back into the fight at 0, right? So here, instead of going in aggressively, we want to look to be just running out this way and getting out this door and running away, right?
Mhm.
That way we can get out. Here we keep going in and keep going in and keep going in, and we don't back up. Right, keep going in. Okay, and we stay in even now, and we could be backing up and going through this doorway, right? And then
Yeah.
that means that we just waste our energy when we could have hopefully gotten away with it.
Yeah.
Personne n'échappe à mon regard.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Mercy on call.
Just like in training.
Ready. So it looks like we do have a decent grasp on bubbles. But we're doing very poor when it comes to just damage output, which a major one of that is just going to stem from our misunderstanding of the shooting. So
Yeah.
that is going to be a very, very high impact one of, if you can't actually do damage, then you're not actually doing anything. Okay.
Best shot.
Okay, we noticed she was there. It's just a little bit delayed of a reaction, right? Pay attention. There's a lot of different things that go into whether or not someone is shooting at you, right? We have audio cues. I have my volume at super low right now. It's at 20%. Usually I have this at 100, right? So you can hear when people are shooting at you. When people are shooting at us, we see damage coming out of. You see, usually it's red, but for some reason it's blue right now. So if you look at the bottom of our screen, I don't know why it's blue, but there's blue marks at the bottom of the corners of our screen. This tells us it's coming from behind us. When if it's coming from the top left corner, then it's coming from our left side, right side. You can tell which direction it's coming from, as well as look underneath your crosshair there. You see those red marks, so that tells you what direction damage is coming from. You can see your health bar ticking down. There's a lot of different things that notify you, hey, you're taking damage. So pay attention to those things, and then that way we notice the Zarya faster.
Yeah. Normally I do that. I just not so much here. I don't know.
Yep. Okay. Look at the positioning again, right? We kind of just ran through this open area, so just make sure we're maybe trying to stick next to cover a little bit more, next to walls, next to objects. Us being out in the open like that just means that we're taking a whole lot of extra damage. Just put in an active effort to make sure you're standing closer to objects. So, for example, here, right, we can come and hug left side. We can use cart. Right now we're trying to get aggressive, so this is now that we're on the offensive. We don't have to worry as much about it. Probably say it's gonna be the biggest one that I've seen so far for our Zarya, is just make sure that you're understanding and working on the difference between your left click and your right click, and right click when you're outside of that distance, but then at the same time make sure that you understand this distance, and most of the time you're going to want to try to put yourself within this distance, within 15 meters of enemies, because when we're not within that distance of enemies, it's going to be a lot more difficult to hit shot, like to do anything, right? Because left click is just your most consistent output of damage. So here we're just playing too far away.
Yeah.
So we're not like even though we've been 100 energy this whole game, we're 3 minutes in, and we haven't gotten we haven't gotten an ultimate, right? Which just means that we're charging it very slowly. We're not doing enough damage.
Yeah.
And in full charge, Zarya is absolutely shred people. We're just not within any distance to do that. Full charge Zarya is like one of the highest damage dealers in the game, so really, really work on that, as that's going to be a big one to just mean that you're doing more. So it's also funny because you're probably going, wait, you're probably in this game thinking to yourself, dang, I do no damage.
Yeah.
Zarya is a really bad character.
I just thought it was like a massive drop off. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Heroes never die.
This will restore you.
Barriers on you. Enemy seen.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Get in there.
Okay, now we probably
Let me get you patched up.
okay. We talked about winning or losing fights. Probably want to be looking to get out here if possible, but probably not going to be very likely that we do. So we want to be actively working towards getting out. We don't want to just chill here,
Yeah.
right? Cause
I like chilling.
Yep. Then we die late there. So when we're dying late, that's called a stagger, right? So that means
Yeah.
that now these guys are all coming back from spawn and they're going to be pushing back into the fight while we're dead in spawn. So staggers mean that we're dying. We're now if they wait for us, they're wasting. We've wasted time, right? And they're wasting time while they're waiting for us. And if they don't wait for us, now they're going in without players and putting themselves at a disadvantage. So they might walk in when they're down 1 to 2 people, which means that before they've even started the fight, they're at a significant disadvantage. So that's another thing. What that means is when it comes to staggers, is also make sure you're paying attention to your own team staggers so that you're not pushing in without them. And then 2 is that's why we push aggressively when we're winning fights, and when we've won fights, so that we can get the enemy team to stagger.
Mhm.
So here, let's just come out of spawn and look. Okay, like where's our team at when we respawn? Okay, so we respawn and boom. Okay, they're almost walking in. Right, they're about to
Yeah.
start fighting while we're just walking out of spawn. So then, also on Akira, on your note, right, this is where you need to make sure you're paying attention to what's happening behind you, because we're walking in when we have our half of our team in spawn, and then that means that we just have more people that are looking at us, more people that are shooting at us, and we're going in when we're already at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Barriers on you. Go.
This will protect us.
God damn it.
And good bubble. Yep, you have a really decent grasp on your bubbles, and you're getting a ton of energy. So no problem on that end so far. Usually you have better bubble usage than most people do at like platinum levels, right? This is
Oh, wow.
even plat players struggle with this, and they'll have people who hold on to bubbles, who bubble and get 0 energy all the time. You have very high energy most of the time, just because we're using them often and we're using them in good scenarios where we see people are taking damage. So really good usage on your bubble ends.
Thanks.
Okay, with the grav, try to focus on, so 2 things here. Okay, first off, pay attention to your tab. So something that you can do is
Yeah.
grav is a very comboable ultimate. You have a ton of things you can combo with this. Junkrat probably would be better here, but Reaper is also a good ult one, and
Yeah.
Akira is like right like 3% off, so we could wait an extra 3 seconds and make sure communicating with him and say, hey, I have grav, you have Reaper ult, let's do this, right? Let's combo. And then on top of that, we also go for the tanks. So this is okay, especially if you're comboing, but a lot of the times you're going to try to do, we talked about target priority. It's super, when we just grab 2 tanks, they have a shield, they have the most health, they have 2 bubbles. The supports can sit out in the back and just pocket them the whole time. It's the hardest to kill and kill these guys when we grab them. So we just want to make sure that we're putting an active effort into maybe trying to go for more than just the tanks, right?
Yeah.
And try to maybe just get the supports in the back line rather than just the tanks in the front line, because there's a good chance that the grab ends and we don't even get any kills out of it.
Yep. Yeah, I'll try to communicate better.
Yep. No, he did go in and he carried, because he's great like that, right, Kira? So he cleaned up, did it. Alrighty. While we're in between these fights, we want to look to maintain our energy. So when we're in between the fight here, what we can do is just push up and poke from here. So just toss in some right clicks. We can pretty much just stand still, and if they start shooting at us, Then we bubble and we get some energy. That way we're kind of maintaining it and it just doesn't just decay throughout the fight. That way we can come into the next fight with 80 energy rather than 50. Right, so right here we just want to be poking a little bit and pushing forwards and getting our energy online while also spamming in.
Yeah.
Heroes never die.
Stop laughing, you're making me laugh.
Sorry. That was pretty bad.
Yep, just focus on the distance as well here, because on top of just not understanding that we can't hit them from here, it's also the fact that from here we're not able to left click where we want to be within this distance to left click. So we want to be more like up here closer to the fight, not sitting back trying to snipe, because Zarya is a pretty close range character. You want to be at a closer range than this. So
Okay.
we're just holding really, really far back.
Yeah, I do. Hang back a bit. Okay.
Okay, up 2 people. This is where we push aggressive and we go in. We don't want to back up during this time. You just want to be in there, get right up there, right? Because we're winning this. But here we're just kind of hesitating. We're pulling back. And now they have their teammates back, so now we're playing more. Now we're even, right? It's a 6v6. Now we're playing how we should, like, kind of on a normal basis. Yeah, just gonna, I'd probably say we're gonna like triple the damage we're doing now if we just fix that one thing here.
Yeah, I'm excited to try this again with a different circumstance.
Alright, coming up on our ult here, so we're thinking about how we're gonna use it.
Oh yeah, this is where the Mercy... Oh wait, yeah.
Actually, what? Here, just give it an extra second, right? Look at cart, look at where the cap point is. You have an extra, like, 5-10 seconds. You don't have to touch right away, so give your team time to get back, right? Look, we have 3 people walking back right now, right? They're going to be back within 5 seconds, so if we just wait a couple extra seconds to touch cart, we're going in with multiple people, not just ourselves, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So just give it an extra couple of seconds, pay attention to where your team's at, awareness, pay attention to what's happening around you, right?
Oh, this is not the one I thought it was.
60 seconds remaining.
Okay, sorry.
And this is where we can maybe come up with junk. I know people don't really talk in bronze or in silver. So especially once you get higher in ranks, you can start talking about that. Or if you're in your team environment, you can look to combo it and get those 2 ultimates going at the same time. Or you can just try typing it in text chat or just say it in voice chat. I know a lot of females as well don't like to talk even at higher ranks, right? Just because of the environment, right? So it's up to you however you want to go about it, but I would just say like a communication is a good idea, because then you can combo those 2 and get more value. In between this fight, look to get, again, maintain your energy, look to poke a little bit. Again, try to do more than just the tanks, right? So we can step to the side, try to wait till they push forwards, wait till they group up. It's just we just get the tanks, and maybe that's not going to secure much, because again, twice in a row we just get the tanks, and then they just get pocketed through it, and then they stay alive, right? Therefore, grab doesn't get value there.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So now Akira's hoping that we're gonna go through this round, and then he's gonna realize that all along he's been shooting wrong, and now he's just gonna all of a sudden do 3 times the amount of damage.
Yeah. I wish.
Now Akira, I've seen you on a couple different characters. Are you with your how does your hero pool work?
I just I don't know. Mei is not really in my hero pool, but I'm a switch to Reaper after I die, I think, and that's something that I want to improve on.
All right. Yeah, again, same thing as I was talking about Salty. Just I would recommend trying to stick within a couple of characters. Like 2 to 3 usually is a really good one to try to stick in and mainly focus on. Though, of course, if it's ever needed, if your team ever needs a specific character, or you just feel like swapping to a character for fun, right? No problem with that. It's just that the fastest way to improve would be to focus on 2 to 3 characters. So that would just be my recommendation. So let's come in here, look at Mei real quick.
Well, the fastest way to improve efficiently is to play sustainably, which needs some fun. That's why I played Mei, because it's fun.
Yep. All right. Explain what are you attempting
I thought he was gonna.
Yeah,
I thought he was gonna charge.
Charge. Okay. Explain. So you're trying to block off his charge.
Yeah. Or I thought if he comes through, then I either can block him off or I can block him off from going back.
All right. I would probably. So that's a good idea, and I'd probably look to a wall as it's happening. Don't pull out the wall super ahead of time, because then you kind of have this awkward period where we're just kind of staring at the floor for like 10 seconds straight, right? Where we just kind of where we're not really doing much. So rather than just holding the wall like that, keep shooting, and then work on kind of a if you need to, just go in the training range and work on like how to wall faster, where you just like pull it up and then place it instantly, pull it up, place it, pull it up, place it, pull it up, place it, rather than having to pull it up, wait, then place it. Because during this whole time we probably want to be just spam right clicking, right? Get more damage going, get ult charge going. All right, maybe get some kills in. Same concepts here with positioning again. Rather than being right here, be closer to this right side wall, so we can use this as cover. Good ice block reaction time. That's good reaction time. All right, and I like that we're using that to back up.
No. Yeah, I wanted to separate him here.
Yep. So that's a good idea. When you're looking for the separate, just so that he doesn't get on top of the wall, you want to make sure that's a little bit like really much further behind, because if this becomes an issue that's gonna happen a lot of the time, then we can just know that we should be looking to place it further back than we think we need to, right? So if we notice that this continues, that it happens again and again and again, then we kind of keep getting people on top. Just make sure that you're going further and further each time with where you're placing it.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Ice block there. Sides that. Not much else. Maybe wait for your monkey to go back in before you're trying to engage with the wall. Okay, so we do swap to the Reaper here pretty much instantly.
Did she hear me? I wasn't sure.
Yeah, probably. There when you're trying to sneak up on somebody, add in some crouches so that they can't hear you. Am I talking? Because Discord says I'm quiet. Hello? Hello? Oh, I muted myself. Somehow I muted myself.
No,
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
At what point did I stop talking?
I asked whether she hears me, and then it was quiet.
All right.
Well, it was after, I think, before you switched to May.
Yeah. So
Maybe you were already saying something. Okay.
yeah. So I was saying, you just make. Yeah, she did hear you. Add in some crouches so that when you're trying to sneak up on somebody, so that you're quieter. Crouch
Yeah.
minimizes your sound, so they can't hear you as easily. On top of that, if you're trying to catch up to her, you can use Wraith to catch up to her. So I like that we're not super hard engaging here because our team's not going in yet.
Огонь по готовности! وريهم قوتك. Obey.
All right, so we talked about play style with Tracer last time. Now we're gonna go over kind of your play style on Reaper. Who are target priorities again?
What do you mean?
Who when you play Overwatch, who are your target priorities, right? When we're on Reaper even.
On the Reaper, I would say tanks.
Nope, that's the answer that people would think. Yep. As Reaper, you can very easily punish tanks, but that's not, again, who your target priorities are. Typically, you're still going to try to focus the same target priorities as we were talking about before.
So support and
Yep.
DPS.
So with our play style, what we can do to make sure we're doing that effectively is essentially you're kind of going to do a rotation, right? So you're going to teleport in behind them. When you're teleporting, make sure that they can't see both ends of you, so you're trying to place yourself behind cover and you're teleport to where they can't see it, right? So go ahead, and you were going to say something?
No, I said yes.
Yep. Okay. So yeah, you try to put your stand behind something, teleport, behind them, right? So if we're trying to, for example, we're trying to hide from those guys, we can teleport up to this high ground. We're behind cover, so they can't see us, and then we're teleporting up to high ground where they can't see this end, right? So we're coming up top, right? We jump down, shoot at their supports for a little bit. Once we feel like we're low HP or they're pressuring us, then we wraith back to our team. Okay, and we want to make sure that our team's within wraith distance, right? We don't want to engage by ourselves. We want to go and win our teams going in. We wraith back to our team. We can shoot here from the front line, do exactly what we were doing when we were behind Monkey Shield, right? Just shoot at the tanks. Then when we have the abilities back, then we do the whole process again, okay? We teleport, we do the rotation again, we teleport in the back line, we shoot them from behind, right? There's a really easy, same thing as Tracer, right? We were talking about how you can just bypass shields, bypass tanks, because you can just get right past the shields and right past them with blinks. Same thing on Reaper, we can just teleport straight in, get on their back line, wraith back, fight on the front line, wait until we get the cooldown back, and then do it again, right? We're just going to rotate that in and out, right? And then we can do the same thing when we're going for our, with our ultimate. I haven't seen how we're using our ultimate yet, but just know when you're going for our ultimate, typically you're going to want to TP behind or preferably above, right? So we can look to go TP up top here and then just jump off, right? And then that way we can get the surprise advantage in on them. But that's going to be essentially our play style with the rotation we're looking to do. That way we're not just sitting there shooting at shields the whole time, sitting there shooting at tanks, which you do, as Reaper, you are pretty effective against, but that's not who you want to be prioritizing.
Yeah.
Personne n'échappe à mon regard.
Obey.
Okay, use your Wraith, right? Same thing repeating over and over again, right? You have these abilities that prevent you from taking damage. Tracer, you have your recall and your blinks. May, you have your ice block. Reaper, you have your Wraith. Yet we don't use them and then we die, right? So use your Wraith. Don't be hesitant to use it. Just use it much more often here, because right now we're not using it at all, right? And then that means that we end up dying because of it. What were you gonna say?
I said yes.
Yes. Okay.
No, sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm just acknowledging what you're saying. Yeah.
Yep. It just sounded like you're like M, and I'm like, what? What were you gonna say? Alrighty. No, whole team is dead. Probably don't want to look to engage here. We just want to back up Yeah, probably didn't even want to go in that far anyways when we saw that our whole team's dead. And remember, we can see our team through walls, right? So we can just watch to see how many teammates we have alive. Don't go in if we see that they're all dead. Where are we at? Okay, we're still kind of pushing in here when we don't have teammates alive. I think we're trying to go on a flank here, but if we're trying to go on a flank, maybe rather than walking through the open area, right, we can add in a TP. So if we're trying to set up, so let's say hypothetically our thought process is, yeah, our team's not back, but we're trying to get behind them, right? We're trying to get in a good position. So we can stand right here, okay? No one can see us if we stand right here. We can set up a TP right side or inside here or up on the high ground if we wanted, right? We can TP pretty much anywhere from here, and then boom, we're there instantly. Here what we do is we walk out, and then we walk out in the open, right? And then they shoot us, and then now we're boom, we're like 43 HP, right?
And they know where I am.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So you hiding behind cover while you're TPing masks where you're going, and it means that you kind of get the surprise advantage you can go in. Here we probably should have gone for. I think it would have been a good idea to go for the health pack, but right now we just need to kind of wait on our supports to get us. Just don't engage when we're 45 HP, which it looks like we're about to, which is going to be a no-no, because we're going to get one tapped here in a second. Alright, so problem there was we went back in, we didn't pay attention to their health bar, and we went back in when we're 45 HP, right? That means that if anybody on their team tickled us, we died. And then we're also kind of engaging. Well, yeah, that was just the main issue. Nothing else. Not gonna add anything on top of that.
Heroes never die.
I will get my revenge.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Don't go back in if you see that your team's all dying, right? We're down 2 people. This is where we should probably be looking to regroup. Down. Oh no, never mind. Are we down 3 people? Yeah, we're down 3 now. Yep, this is a lost fight. Wraith away, right? You can use that for mobility sometimes too.
Excuse me for dropping in.
Okay, so again, this is where we were talking about it before. Wait for your team. Then also same play style stuff is TPing behind them, go for the better targets. Okay, so we just went them too early with the Wraith, try to use it to get out. We kind of hesitated a little bit, and we kind of sat there, and then that meant that he was able to. We didn't get far enough away.
Огонь по готовности. Fire at will.
Okay, no problems at all with the Dust Blossom. Really good usage. I like that we didn't hold on to it and we used it right away. I think so far you both have had pretty decent timing with your ultimates, and you know not to. I haven't seen anybody ulting after a fight's been won or lost. I haven't seen us holding on to it, so that's really good on both of your ends. And then on top of that, I think both of you have a decent grasp on just game awareness, and you have a. There's still things that you both struggle with, but I think you both decently know what's going on around you.
I think that's also because we talk to each other, like we're in Discord with each other, and then make each other aware that the fight is lost and it's just 4 eyes. Yeah.
Okay, same playstyle stuff.
Yeah.
Just look to get in behind him.
Heroes never die.
I feel unstoppable.
This is not your time. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, look to get right up in their faces. Don't sit up there on the high ground. You don't do very much damage. You know, you're very close ranged character. Oh, you're very close range character. So you want to make sure that you're not standing very far away from people. That's the beauty of teleporting in like right behind them and walking up next to them is we can close that gap very fast. But if we're just shooting from here, we're doing nothing, right? We're
Yeah.
tickling them. We're doing no damage. So we want to, even like up here, we want to make sure that we're a lot closer, right? This like 7 meters, like right here is the kind of the minimum, right? Because then we can, let's see, what, that's like 5 shots to kill somebody, right? But if we get up right next to them, this is what, you know, you can 1-tap squishy targets, right? Or 2-tap or 3-tap, right? You can 2-tap bodies, right? 1-tap headshot. Even if you miss a couple pellets, right? We can still do a ton of damage. So, we want to make sure we're getting right up next to people. We're not just spamming them from a little bit of a distance. You can spam from this distance, but it's just not going to do nearly as much, right? So we want to make sure we're getting a lot closer to the people we're shooting at on Reaper, and then that's why teleporting behind is so good, is because we can go behind and then just kind of walk right up to them.
Heroes never die.
So we're just past this here.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
Get into position.
This is my curse. Repositioning.
Up the tempo. Allow me to repair the damage.
Looks like we're a lot less shaky with our aim when we're shooting here, because we're not attempting to track, I would presume.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay. There looks like we had maybe tried to engage when our team wasn't necessarily all ready to fight, and then we kind of did the same thing where we went in when our team was still fighting, or sorry, not in the fight, right? So we kind of took all their attention on us.
This will heal you.
60 seconds remaining.
Okay, good Blossom, good usage of that so far.
That was a bit strange.
All right. Okay, so we're running out of time here for this session, so why don't we do a wrap up of kind of all the different things, main things for both of you to work on. So we've gone over a lot of different characters. So why don't we start off with Akira? So we went over Tracer. So ability usage wise, make sure you're a little bit more conservative with them, that you're not wasting all of them and you're not using them all instantly. When you're out of abilities, give it a little bit to get them back. Make sure that you're using them and you're not letting yourself die when you have them. That's a big problem that's happened consistently, where you keep dying over and over again when you still have recall, when you still have blinks, right? So make sure you're using your recall to keep yourself alive, and when you can stay alive longer, you're going to be able to do more, right? And you'll be able to stay alive and actively be participating in the game longer, and dying isn't very much fun. Pulse usage needs some work. We are like half and half with it, so we landed half of them. We missed the other half, so we just want to be more consistent with that. When we're looking for pulses, we're looking to do a blink melee, so we can get within 10 meters of somebody, blink, pulse, recall, or blink backwards, right? That's how you can land them very effectively. When we're right here on somebody, it's very difficult to miss a pulse, right? That's why you blink right up next to them, so you can get in fast, get the pulse up right next to their body, and then we can land it very easily, right? It's difficult to miss it when they're right here, especially when they're a bigger target, right? Now make sure aiming crosshair placement, make sure aiming head level. Then let's see, what are some other areas? That's make sure with your play style and your approach that we're coming in from side angles, and we're not just coming in from the front line. We talked about crosshair, positioning, right, and making sure we're not standing on the open, but we're standing closer to cover, and we're not coming from the front line. We're coming in from side angles, right? So we're not dying again. This is going to affect our survivability. Make sure we're surviving much more often, and we're doing more. Moving on to Reaper, make sure that we're doing our, we just recently talked about this, we're doing the again, play style thing where we're going in, we're doing a rotation, we're shoot, then when we're feeling pressured, we raise back to our team. Try to make sure with both of them that you're syncing up with yourself with your team, so you're going in when your team's going in, and you're not going in without them when your team's not ready. Reaper and Tracer, just make sure you're staying within your respective ranges. Right, with Tracer, you're trying to stay within like 10 meters of people. You're not trying to get too close unless you're trying to kill them, and you're not trying to get too far away. But then with Reaper, you're trying to make sure really like right up on top of them. Tracer, make sure that you are. What was my thing that I was gonna say? What was it? I had something in my head. I guess we'll move on. To just make sure being aware of what's going on around you. So on an awareness note, pay attention to when you're winning or losing fights. Pay attention to how many teammates you have around you. Probably say if we were to let's kind of like rate the things that you need to work on the most. So probably say that survivability is the #1 thing. If you're continuously dying over and over and over again, you're not going to be able to accomplish anything. So make sure that you're both using your abilities better and playing next to cover much better. So survivability, that goes along with both positioning and ability usage. Besides that, I'd probably say the second biggest thing is your mechanics, as we're, especially on our Tracer, we're missing a lot of not really doing much damage because we're missing a lot of shots and our tracking is very poor and we're missing a lot of pulse bombs. So second thing is going to be making sure you're working on your mechanics, as that is a big thing that you're struggling with, is just hitting shots in general. That'll tie in with crosshair placement and all the things we talked about for laying pulse bomb. And just overall just make sure you're practicing it and trying to get better on that end. Thirdly, let's go with actually let's split up positioning and ability usage. Probably say ability usage is gonna be #1, positioning is gonna be #2. Then we're going to have #3 as mechanics, and then you can have like #4 as like kind of just general awareness. I think your ult usage is the least. I think you're the best at your ult usage, and that's the least important one. And you do also have some generally good awareness. You just need some more awareness of especially what your team's up to and whether or not you're winning and losing fights. So I guess before I move on to Salty, do you have any questions about anything that we've gone over with you?
No, I think I'm good.
Alrighty. Now let's move on. Salty, we went over Zarya, and Zenyatta. Zenyatta, keep crosshair placement. Mechanics is going to be something that we're struggling a lot with. Lower sensitivity, as that can, help, or at least try it out lowered, as that can help you hit more pixel perfect, precise shots. You do have a really decent grasp on when you're left clicking, when you're right clicking, so that's really good. You have your orbs on the right targets at the right times, so that's good as well. Just make sure with your Harmony Orb that you're leaving it on your tanks more often, and you're not just spending too much time swapping it around. The only time you really want to worry too much about swapping it is when someone's critical or about to die, or the fight's over and you have time to do that. Besides that, you have some pretty good ult usage. Transcendence, make sure you're trying to do your best to hold on to it for, like, if they have super important ultimates you're trying to hold on to it for, like Nano Blade or Grav, we might want to hold on to our trance for them. But if they don't have any of those, then we're going to use it more reactionary, and whenever we see our team needs it. But good timing on your ultimates as well. That's a very strong suit of yours as well as Akira. Same thing with kind of awareness. You need to work on knowing what's up with your team and paying attention to kill feed and knowing whether or not you've won or lost. Zenyatta, really focus on your positioning, as we're dying a lot because we're pushing too aggressively or we're out of position. Make sure you're not getting too aggressive or pushing away from cover, and make sure you're sticking with your team, not away from your team, especially when you're up against a dive. Besides that, I think that's all on Zen end. On Zarya, big major one, #1 thing, is our distance. Besides that, you have fantastic bubbles, good ultimate usage or with placement and timing, but we're not doing it on the right targets. So, that's the other thing with both of you is focus on the who you're focusing, right, on priority targets, being on the right people. So you were hitting just the tanks, so with your ultimate focus on hitting more than just tanks with it. But you were actually hitting the people you're looking for, and you were using it at the right time, so you're good on both those ends. Make sure you're right clicking at the right distance, left clicking when you're not at that distance. Besides that, I think that's mostly it for Zarya specific stuff. So main points for you, main things to work on. Number one, positioning. Make sure that you're staying next to cover because that'll give you more survivability and you'll be able to do more when you're alive. Number one thing is Zarya, so maybe we'll do number two or whatever, but just the number one thing you're going to want to work on whenever you're playing Zarya is just, that that distance thing, because that is going to have a major impact on what you're doing. Number two, or I don't know, I don't even know we'll just go with number two in general across both heroes. Probably say let's just do mechanics again, as you do struggle, especially on Zenyatta, to hit shots. On Zarya, it looks like we weren't doing as poor with our tracking, though we weren't actually doing tracking much because we weren't at the right distance. But Zenyatta especially, we're missing a lot of shots, so just lower that sensitivity, work on your crosshair placement, mechanics, all the stuff that we talked about with Akira as well. Number three is going to have to be your awareness and making sure you're paying attention to what's going on around you, as there was a lot of those things as well, right? Paying attention to kill feed, paying attention to your team, and then that'll be about it. Do you have any questions on anything that we've gone over?
Who should I target again as Zarya?
Yep. So, because you're gonna be on the front line a lot of the time, you're gonna want to focus the tanks if they're the only thing you can shoot at. But they're not oftentimes gonna be the only thing you can shoot at. So when you have an equal opportunity, meaning a tank is standing right there and a DPS is standing right there, or a tank is standing right there and a support standing right there, right? We can pick whoever we want to shoot at. Shoot at this DPS or support because tanks have the highest health. They have the most tanking abilities. They're the easiest to heal. They're also going to have the least amount of raw statistical impact. Now that doesn't mean that they're probably the biggest carrying role in the game, but when it comes to who to kill, that is the most important of the raw data of what to kill. Right. So that's who you want to focus is supports and DPS if you can. So how we can do that on Zarya a lot of the time is go for what you call off angles. So if our team's standing here, right, and the enemy team standing there, don't just sit here shooting at the front line. We can take an angle like this where we kind of get past their shields, get past their tanks, right? We get for same thing. Our team standing here, enemy team standing there. We can take a detour and go to the high ground here, right? And now we're up above them. We can get behind their shields, get on their supports, get on their DPS. Off angles are inherently short and they're inherently fast, whereas flanks are long and dangerous. You might not want to go for a flank, but you will very much so want to go on off angles as much as possible, as long as you're not the main tank.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. Any other questions? Did that answer it, or do you have any other questions?
No, I don't think so.
Alrighty. Well then, let me stop the